next up is, does someone go, aw, Luke Foust.
All right. So about a year ago this week, actually, I was finishing up one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on. So many of you may know next week is E3, which is a big video game where the companies, they like to announce their new products. So I was working on a project for Xbox called Xbox Design Labs. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. If you have, or if you haven't, it allows you to build your own custom Xbox One controller. You get to pick the colors. They build it for you. So this project had some interesting requirements, which is it's super secret. No one can know about this. But the moment that they announce it on stage, they want everyone to know about it. And we had an interesting problem, which is our deployments were not fast. It's not like we could say, Phil Spencer can get on stage at E3 and say, Xbox Design Lab, and then we click deploy, and then 3 hours later, people can access it. So this wasn't the only situation we were trying to solve this for. We had a lot of things during development. We couldn't wait for deployments all the time. And so I'm going to share with you today how we solved this problem. It's not an amazing thing, but it really saved us a lot of time, and I use it on other projects as well. So the idea here was just let's separate our deployment and our configuration, and let's allow us to deploy or update our configuration somehow outside of deployment. So recently, with .NET Core and its configuration libraries, it actually has a nice in for this. When you add a configuration file to .NET Core, say a JSON file or whatever, you have this flag, which is reload on change. And I kind of asked myself, like, that sounds great, right? It creates some kind of file system watcher. It watches your file. You update it. Your configuration's upgraded. It sounds magical. But I wasn't quite clear on who's going onto their servers and updating their configuration. So I don't really know, what are we watching on the production? This is a good development feature. But then I started to think, well, what if, we just spin off a background thread, watch the configurations, which are somebody else in your own service on blob storage, whatever. And this is kind of where this idea grew. So we use this feature for a couple of interesting scenarios. So I currently work on MSN.com. Every feature we ship on MSN.com is shipped behind a flag, so you can say, turn this off, turn this on, for reasons of, shipping something out of order, but also, let's say we have some sort of live site issue, we need to turn something off. This can all be done remotely through these, remote configuration background thread. If you're interested in I'm not going to get into the implementation detail of how we do this, but this is the idea, right? .NET Core doesn't care where the configuration comes from. It's just that it can be updated on the fly, and now you get the latest version of everything. So just real quick, a couple of gotchas that we ran into that you maybe have to think about with such a scenario. So when this configuration gets changed remotely, you detect the change, great, and now you have the updated thing on whatever server this is. But that doesn't help you if somebody's holding on to like a static copy of your configuration, right? You can update it and they're still holding on to the old copy. So you have to really think through the lifetimes of the configuration objects in your application. Singletons and statics are probably not going to serve you very well. Which brings me to the second gotcha that we ran into actually recently, is you don't want to do too much work on every request. When somebody says, give me such and such configuration, you don't want to have to go and, .NET Core has this whole process of binding your configuration to some kind of hydrated object, which is not, and understandably so, not such a performance thing. So you have to be really careful with how much, caching these things and how much work you're doing on each request. But in the end, this has saved us, like I said, a ton of time in development, in production, live site, all across the board. And now, multiple projects I've used this similar idea, and I keep iterating on it. And if you want more details, come talk to me, and I'll talk to you more about it. Thanks.